And this was such a special moment. But look how close Fairy Peak was to 1v3ing. Everyone wanted Garrett to win. This was such a peak moment for NRG on their journey. And what the next era of NRG is going to look like. Right, guys, so I'm trying a new series here for you. We're going to be looking at the journey of NRG. So the most successful team of all time in Rocket League. Based off of their income, it depends on how you look at it, but they have earned the most money of any team and have been around for longest of any of the big orgs. And we can have a look here at the statistics portal on Wikipedia. And what I'm going to be doing in this series, and I'll do it for other teams, let me know in the comments which teams you want to hear the story of. I'm going to be picking out the key moments, the highlight moments, the journey, the various different transfers that happened, essentially getting you up to date if you're a newer viewer of NRG, and if you're not, go down a bit of memory lane and see if we can find those particular moments that were so special to NRG. Fun little fact here, I'm in the top oldest players. For some reason, I'm considered a player. I guess that's through like Twitch Rivals and stuff. But you can see me up on there. And if we look here, NRG are the #1 org. The most wins, the most S-tier wins, the most earnings, also the most second places. But, you know, it's not because they got second all the time. It's a lot of the time because they did so well that they got to the final so often. But this is the most successful team in Rocket League history. And right now they're in a bit of a blip. So I thought it'd be a good chance for us to have a look at the positive side of NRG, in particular when they were the world champions here. So if we look back on NRG's journey, we have to go all the way back to 2016 and have a look from that start. It started with Fireburner, Jacob and Sad Jr. getting picked up. At the end of 2016, they were Kings of Urban at the time, one of the most popular teams, one of the most successful teams in North America, frequently topping North America and then going to LAN and struggling a little bit. And their journey very much began similar to how Kings of Urban went, and it took a few transfers before they really got going. So if we look at the full journey, this is all of their big results throughout the time. You can see how many there've been. I'm going to talk you through each of the key moments and what really happened there, and any sort of anecdotes I have of the team as well. So 2016, after getting picked up as NRG, they did win the North American RLCS Season 2, and then they went along to the finals and made 5th to 6th, which was, you know, it was reasonable, but they got beaten by the eventual winners, Flipside Tactics. So fair play, they did pretty well there. And then you can see here lots of weeklies. This was back when people would play for $150, $300, and it would be considered a good amount of money. But then, as you see, we get up to the S-tier events here. So they win the next North American RLCS Season 3. Who is this? Atelier. I forgot about those guys, but yeah, I didn't recognize that logo. But yeah, they frequently won the North America events. But then at this one, they finally started getting places. They came 3rd at Season 3, winning, losing to the eventual winners in Northern Gaming. So you can see a bit of a trend here. Season 4 came 3rd in this event. I think this was when G2 and Cloud9 started to come through. If we have a look at this event. See, Cloud9 G2 came out on top. NRG struggled a little bit in the league play here. And then the qualifier, it was actually Cloud9 and Ghost Gaming won that final. This was a weird time where qualifying for the major equivalent of Worlds at the time was the most important thing. Getting to LAN was so important. So NRG winning the quarterfinal here and Ghost winning the quarterfinal here, they were just happy to be making the Worlds. And then after that, it used to be a bit of a scramble after that as to who actually won the whole events. Yes, you get more prize money, but for the most part, people just wanted to make LAN. So yeah, it was always an interesting one. And you can see here, this LAN lost to Chiefs, the OCE team. This was when they're at one of their lowest points. So this is Season 4. So around this time, they started to think, we need to make a roster move. Because they'd already made the roster move to get Garrett G in at the beginning of 2017. And that's where they had this year. So that was Sad Jr. out, just Garrett G in. And then this performance at Worlds led them to pick up the superstar Justin. So at Season 4, they struggled in North America and they struggled at the LAN. So they need to pick up a new superstar. And that's where Justin, the famous roster of Justin, Garrett G, and Fireburner started doing well. And you all remember the Season 5 finals. But it wasn't just them. They had the G2 loss in the finals in North America. So they're starting to look good. DreamHack Leipzig made 3rd, 4th. I think they actually lost to Vitality in this. No, that was the next Leipzig. They lost to G2 in this one. But I remember we beat them at the 2019 Leipzig. Yeah, there we go. So this was pretty cool. This Season 5 final is where this most famous NRG moment happened. I'm sure you all recognize it.
Held back now. Violent Panda puts it straight out. It's going to be over to Kader. It's almost in. Fulham scored.
So Turbo Pulsar, important in the story of NRG. And at this time, this was, just to give a little bit of context to NRG, you know, NRG had been one of the strongest teams in North America for so long. And it was the back-to-back winning attempt from Dignitas here. They won it as Gale Force the previous season. They seemed unbeatable. NRG were in the final. They were waiting for them, and they were supposed to beat them. It was their time to win, and we all thought it was destiny when... I mean, I'm going to skip ahead. You all know what happened here. So we all remember this moment, and it was so special because Justin was this new young superstar, one of the first ever young superstars to come in and make a massive difference to a team. This is now commonplace. We see these young players who are in the bubble scene get picked up by top teams and succeed. And to have such a young player perform this well on LAN was kind of surprising for a lot of people. You know, Garrett G and Fireburner, mainstays in North America, and this was such a special moment. But unfortunately, they did come out second in that one, as we all remember, but we try to forget that it happened. We just try and remember the famous goal. So they come second at this event, and this was the point where Garrett G started to believe that they were cursed, right? He believed that they weren't ever going to win a Worlds. They had a curse on them. You know, they had some good events. I think they won, was it Face It down here where they beat Gale Force at that one? You know, they went on, did well in the WSOE where they came second in the final there. Leipzig, top 4, still pretty good finish. You know, they're doing well. And then Season 7, they're thinking, this is our event. They go into Season 7, winning the region. They went 7-0, only dropping 6 games in the league play here. They look like the best they've ever looked. Everyone was expecting big things from them. I think at this time they had Chrome as their coach, and you know, Chrome was in just towards the end of last year beforehand. You know, this is one of the first times a coach has really come in, made a massive difference for the team. They're motivated as ever, and then when they get into the finals, they come up against Vitality in the quarterfinal. Vitality have the day of their lives, and unfortunately, they lose that one. And so this was heartbreaking for them because this was the event where they came in as number 1 seeds. They were the favourite for the whole tournament, and they missed out. And then they go into this next event, PSG, DreamHack Valencia. This is the famous Chazette event where he used Fennec. Now, the interesting story at this event was PSG with Chazette here. This was the most incredible solo performance from any individual, popularized the Fennec massively, but there was 2 storylines here. One, PSG were likely going to be let go from the org. So as a team, they had nothing. They were just going for it. You know, they're just trying to win, sell themselves for future orgs, maybe convince PSG to keep them. So that was PSG's side of the story there. Then for NRG, Fireburner was planning to retire after this, so this was their last hurrah with Fireburner. So they were just having fun at this event, and they played super well. I remember them beating Vitality. This was the last event before coaches were allowed on stage, and I remember watching this quarterfinal, Vitality NRG, just thinking if I was just on the stage, there were so many things I'd love to say to the players at the time. There's also a fun little story here of the Randy Gibbons. So this is a bit of a meme team. Let's see if we can find them in here. So this was in 2019, Corrupted G, Classics, and Turbo Pulsar. Classics and Corrupted G were not considered superstar players at all. They were very much on their way out. Classics was about to become a poker superstar. Corrupted G about to become a coach. And Turbo Pulsar played with them, and they did super well. And this is where Turbo Pulsar really caught NRG's eyes, because they knew they were going to be letting Fireburner retire from being a pro player. And so in 2019, Fireburner is retiring after this event, and Turbo Pulsar joins in July 25th. Now, a lot of people were suggesting they pick up Turbo Pulsar, but Garrett G has openly spoken about how, yeah, it's like a fun idea, let's go for it. But then actually, for them, Turbo Pulsar didn't stand out. He didn't shine as a player. They needed him to shine, and that Randy Gibbons River Rats at DreamHack Valencia was a great opportunity for him to do so. And then that was when he joined NRG, where Fireburner was transferred to Cloud9 as coach, where he's remained with Torment ever since, I believe. And Sizz came in halfway through this season and joined the team, I think for the Beyond the Summit, right? So they got Sizz and Turbo in for Beyond the Summit. They win that. They look amazing in this event, playing against ex-PSG Frontline in the final. Go on to Montreal, top 4 placement, solid again. So solid performances all around. And then they come first in North America. To be fair, this is one of the most scuffed seasons for North America. Everyone expected it to be the top 3, but both G2 and Cloud9 went to the promo relegation. And this is where the young blood starts to come through in North America with Pittsburgh Knights and Space Station. So this was a crazy moment for them. NRG remaining supreme in their region. And the big transfer of Turbo over to NRG was one of the first international transfers. We'd had Drippe as well in the past, but it was the first super successful international transfer of a European player over to North America. And then this event here, Season 8 Finals, what a historical event. This was the last LAN before lockdown and the pandemic, so it became that bit more historic in that sense. But Season 8 Finals was definitely the craziest moment in the NRG storyline. You know, we'd had this long build up of didn't quite win a Worlds, they'd won loads of events and you know, the Season 5 memories of losing out in that final overtime. But it was this crazy storyline in the top where Space Station, sorry about Space Station here, you're not part of this storyline. You'll become a storyline in the future, but at this point, the story was really Turbo Pulsar, Violent Panda and K-Dot competing against each other to see which of the dynasty team would be able to come the winner now that they were all split apart. And then the NRG storyline was, are Garrett G and Justin able to redeem themselves after last time? And Vitality and NRG were clashing heads throughout the season as number one from their regions. Vitality, strongest team in EU, NRG, strongest team in North America. Both had their ups and downs throughout 2019. In fact, NRG had the upper hand over Vitality most of the year. There's just 2 times where they didn't. And you can see here, they played each other early on in the winners final, which you can see NRG and Vitality. Vitality go through in the lower side, NRG go through the upper side. This was such a good series as well, 1-goal series in the end. And everyone was saying, let's hope that's the final again on the final day. And that's what ends up happening. We see NRG versus Vitality in the final, and it goes to that Game 7 overtime, which we'll just play here.
They've won it. It's on his way through. Scrubkiller takes his time. Justin, he's up. 0 seconds left. Looks to go by himself. We have overtime. One goal, Shogun. That's all it's going to take. Eerily similar. Garrett, can he have a different result this time? Great play to this corner. Very Pete. He's got past 2 players. Looks for a bump. Garrett.
Can we just, before we watch the Justin goal, look, the Justin goal is great and everything, but look how close Fairy Peak was to 1v3ing, right?
Great play to this corner. Very Pete. He's got
Takes it past 2, almost bumps the last. To be fair, K-Dot did get bumped, probably because he drove away thinking Garrett G was guaranteed to get that. But like, that was so close to being a goal for Vitality.
NRG do what they could not do before.
What a call from James Bot as well. NRG couldn't do what they couldn't do before. Even though it doesn't really make much sense. Like, it does make sense, but like, it's not a great sentence. But the way he says it is so passionate, and to have it said while these guys are celebrating. This is one of those weird ones where it felt like it was NRG's day. It was like on stage, like I felt like, you know what, fair play. This is NRG's day, you know? They deserve this. And like, the storyline's amazing. Turbo Pulsar becomes the 4-time. You know, Justin, his legacy, Garrett's legacy, the only player to make all the lands and all that kind of stuff. There's me. But like everyone wanted Garrett to win. Like, we were the bad guys on stage there as Vitality. Like, you can see Fairy Peak was excited for them. Like, we were pretty excited for them. Like, what a huge result for them. Like, they've been waiting for this moment for so long. So, you know, we are still only halfway through the journey, but this was such a peak moment for NRG on their journey. So this is where the story starts to shift. So after Season 8 Finals with Turbo Pulsar, they didn't look as good in Season 9 as they did in the previous one. Still reasonable results, but there was definitely something not quite up there. And especially as they start to go into the pandemic, where people start to be concerned about people's performances and underperformances and so on, they did end up making a roster switch just before Season X, where they brought in Squishy for Turbo Pulsar. Now, this was a huge switch in the roster because this was the moment that the team suddenly started dominating the online era. So if we watch here, we've got Season X, which came in. There's a lot of grids here. We can ignore the grids, just focus on the A-tier events, which are the regionals. And you can see straight off the bat, second in the first regional. The next event come first, and then we've got the regional event 3, 5th to 8th, lost to Envy in quarters. Not a huge upset there, just, you know, lost in the quarters. Went on to become second at the full major for RLCS X. And then if we go through, lots of similar results across the board, and then winter major come first. We go through to the spring major, came first. So second, first for the majors. And then they won the whole thing of the North American Championship, winning the most online money ever received by any team, as well as Vitality. I was going to say BDS, Vitality over in EU. So showing they're the strongest team of North America across the season. And the real question everyone was asking is what's going to happen to NRG now that they are going to play on LAN again, right? Because they are the LAN veteran team. They're the only team going into a lot of these LANs with world champions on the roster, right? You know, we come into the full split major, which is the first LAN back since the online era, and they made it all the way to that final against BDS where they came second, but they looked a bit off in that event. So it was this weird, like, are they fully there? You know, they look good online, but are they fully there when it comes to LAN? Because they should be LAN players. You know, Garrett G, Justin, Squishy, all incredible LAN performers. Squishy on Cloud9, only ever really making top 4 or more. So we were expecting to see him do a bit better, and they did end up pulling it back and going into that final, and they looked pretty good, to be fair, and we thought, okay, they are back. And then it started to show signs of breaking on LAN. You know, they look good online again, and then winter split major, we see them not quite, they lost to the eventual winners, which tends to be the story of NRG. They tend to lose the eventual winners whenever they fall out early in tournaments. But you see here, lost to Queso, 9th to 12th, didn't even make the crowd days, which was the big thing. You know, they didn't make the chance to perform in front of crowds. And then it became really sketchy when online in the spring split, they didn't get a chance to make the major. They didn't get to the London major. They didn't get to return to the famous ground where they had that just-in goal. So there was starting to be signs of falter. And now we're into the next season. We've just had this season here, and we've just had the qualifications for the full major, and they came 6th. So they're currently 6th in North America based off of RLCS points, getting 20 points. So they are just missing out on the major again. So the spring major last season and the full major this season just bubbling out of major qualification. So there is sort of question marks now going into the next season and what the next era of NRG is going to look like. You know, this Garrett G, Justin, Squishy era has become even more iconic potentially than Garrett G, Justin and Fireburner, which was the original roster that had the famous 0-second goal. The Turbo Pulsar roster was quite short-lived, whereas this one has got more of a legacy now, especially with how popular Squishy is. So what's next for this team? We've heard rumblings of roster changes. We've got big question marks around it. The change of Sizz as coach. You know, we mentioned he came in and was coach for almost 2 years. In fact, I think it was just over 2 years. 3 years and 2 days. So he'd been there for a long time. And now, question is, do you stick with Garrett G, the longest standing member of the roster? Do you stick with Justin, person who everyone says is the strongest player on the team despite having inconsistencies? Squishy, the newest member, the one with the largest following, etc, etc. Who do you stick with on this roster, and what does the future of NRG look like? Well, let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen in the future of NRG. Let me know if you enjoyed this history of, the journey of, looking at a team's journey from start to finish. Definitely going to do Vitality next, and then after that we'll start to see what you guys want and which journeys we'll look at in the future.